Captain Kris, and I'm going to be painting this axe for Pilot Pens in my style. I've done a couple of axes before. This is the biggest one I've done, so yeah, just going to paint this axe and make it look cool. It's got a wooden handle and a metal head, and I've primed that white just with some spray paint just so that it sticks to it. And then what I'm going to do is kind of like a main kind of like character up here. I do a lot of kind of character stuff. So I'm going to do like the main bit of it up here, and then I'm going to do these kind of like tentacles like swirling around the axe so that you can still see some of the wood as well. This does actually relate to the previous pilot project that I've done, considering that I painted the same character last time, but my kind of like trademark Captain America style Captain character was fighting this like squid thing. And I started painting that a lot actually after I did it the first time for Pilot, so I thought it just made sense to do it on the axe here as well. And I'm just going to do this kind of like weird tentacle creature with loads of eyes and a big mouth and stuff. So I've done a couple of axes before, pretty confident on knowing how to paint it. It's just the thing is about painting these things, because it looks like it's quite, I mean, I know it's a big axe, but it looks like kind of like a small object, but because it's kind of round and stuff here, it's always a bit of a pain to paint on it. Like, it looks really good when you do it, but it's always a bit of a pain to try and like rotate it and stuff, and you have to let the paint dry and not let it stick to anything when you rest it on that side, and just be kind of careful as you're handling it as well, because I always end up kind of making marks on it and then I'll have to like clean it up at the end. So it's tricky, but I mean, like I say, I've done it a couple of times before and I always like the result at the end of it. So like, it should be good, should be able to make it look decent. For the main part of it, for the character, I'm going to use these purples, which are actually really good because they're the same purples that I used last time I did this character. So I think I've got a dark and a light one, and I've got them in different thicknesses, so I've got different sizes, which is really good. So the main kind of like fill of the character is going to be in these purples, but then it's going to have this like big open mouth with like teeth and stuff, so I'm going to use a little bit of grey, and then probably some of this pop and pink, and then it's going to have this kind of like stretchy, like kind of blood or saliva or whatever as well floating around it. And I'm going to use this aqua green, and then probably this other light aqua green as well. So I've got like a combination of like dark and light colors that I can use. And then it's going to have like a black outline around it. Same sort of way that I did it last time. I really like painting on objects, so I'm finding this, it is definitely challenging to paint on an object which is so kind of like long and narrow, especially because I'm trying to weave it around so that all the shapes kind of all link together so that it all looks quite smooth. So that is quite challenging, and the fact that the head on this one is actually really heavy, so you have to kind of just fight against that every time you maneuver around. But other than that, it's going okay. Yeah, it's actually working really well. Like, these are going on really thick, so the pens are going onto the wood quite well, better than I thought it would as well, actually. I thought that because it had a varnish on there which is sanded off and then painted this on, I wasn't sure if it was going to hold the kind of opaqueness of it, but it has. So it's really good. In actuality, the metal bit actually probably needs like a second coat just to make it go on nice and flat. But I think once I've done that, it's all going to look like really nice and flat together. The process for this would be, it's the same kind of thing that I would do if I was just to paint a piece on the street with spray paint, or if I was doing like a kind of acrylic piece with these as well. And like the majority of the time I'll sketch it out kind of loosely first, and get that kind of rough sketch down, and then just do the fills with the fill colors, which is what I'm doing now. I just kind of skipped the sketching part of this because I'm just doing it with the colors, just because it makes more sense, and it's kind of like a simple shape. So I'm doing that, and then afterwards, after I've done all these fills, I'm going to do like a black, like kind of thin outline around everything. And then the final stage will be all of the kind of color pops of like extra colors and like shadows and highlights and lowlights and all that kind of stuff. And then I'll just throw on a few things in the foreground just to kind of make it look busy, I guess. But yeah, that's the kind of process. It's always like flat colors, then outlines, or flat colors and shadows, then outlines, and then just kind of tweaking it to make it look right. I think for me, like stylistically, because I do a lot of kind of flat color stuff in general anyway, and I like that kind of graphic look, then it's not too hard for me to transfer that to almost anything, I suppose, whether it's a 3D object or not. So, I mean, a lot of my stuff is based around like cartoons and comic books and all that kind of thing. It's my influence. So yeah, like in terms of just taking that sort of style and the sort of thing that I would normally do on the street or on like a piece of paper or whatever, it transfers to this no problem, I would say, to get it looking pretty much the same sort of way that I would do anything else. So yeah, there's no mishaps, there's no problems. Yeah, I mean, I'm smearing the paint a little bit in tiny areas just because I'm moving it around with my hands all the time. But so far so good, touch wood. It's all going to be fine. And I'll just clean it up at the end afterwards. I'll just hide it if I mess it up. Okay, yeah, so now I've basically done like all the character work at the top, all the line work and the kind of shadows that I was going to add. Could probably go into more detail and spend ages on it, but it's kind of getting there now. So I'm just going to add some pops of green and some like slime and sort of a few foreground elements just around the tentacles and stuff, just to kind of set it off a little bit. And then I'm pretty much there. What do I like about it? I quite like the top bit, the way the heads come out. I think when it's varnished as well, it will look quite nice when it makes the colors pop a little bit more. It's kind of cool that it kind of, it came out so it's like top heady with it wrapping around and you've got this tentacle down the side. I don't know. I mean, I just think it looks cool. Yeah. Okay, so the biggest struggle of creating this axe is that the top bit is really heavy and you have to maneuver it around all the time because I've done it so that these tentacles are kind of all connected and everything kind of loops. It's really hard to maneuver and it's really hard to like move this thing around while you're doing it. It might look like it would be easy, but it's just when you get to certain parts that it becomes tricky, and like certain faces, like the bottom bit along here and everything connecting was tricky, but fun. The color range is really good. Like I think the dark and the light purple work really well. It's the kind of colors that I like using a lot anyway. So like really popping bright pink, this was really good. And I think that they kind of set each other off, especially these purples and that aqua green kind of work really well together. And I like to use that a lot. Third axe, I think this is the third axe that I've painted. I'm trying to think of what else I've done, if there was anything else. I did one that was like a kind of medium-sized axe. This is the biggest. And then I did another kind of like slightly small one, and I actually have like a small hatchet that I haven't painted yet. That's number 3. Yeah, so my website is thecaptainkris.com, and you can find me on Instagram at @CaptainKris. Captain with a C, Kris with a K.
It looks cool on camera, man.